everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to Sin's Workshop. So today we're going to be talking about A Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. This is the second book by this author that I've had a chance to read, the first book being Tiger Queen. So Sullivan has shown that she pretty much excels at retelling, and I think she excels at retelling. A lot of people may disagree with me, but Tiger Queen, it's a retelling of the story of the tiger or the woman or the tiger. And then this one is a story about King Midas. I'm a huge Greek mythology fan, mainly because my name, Cynthia, it comes from Synthos, which is synonymous with Artemis, who is the, goddess of the moon. Yes, she is also the goddess of the hunt, but she is also the goddess of the moon. You can ask any Greek individual and they will tell you that. In fact, that's how I learned it. But anyway, it's about King Midas, and I love Greek mythology retellings. I can't get enough of them. And I think it was a really interesting way to tell the story of King Midas, mainly because it follows her daughter. The opening chapter, first of all, it's very well done. It is a story. It tells a story. It's like a fable almost, in a way, and it moves so fluidly. It tells about King Midas, his history, his interactions with the god Dionysus, who gifted him this touch of gold, and this touch ends up being a curse because he touches his daughter. He can't really touch anything. He can't touch food without turning it to gold. He can't touch anything, and he ends up touching his daughter and turns her to gold. And so Dionysus, tells him, okay, this is what you have to do to make sure your daughter becomes, human again. Now King Midas follows the steps, but he fails to follow all the steps. So it does leave his daughter marked gold. She's got gold skin, she's got gold hair, she's pretty much painted in gold, that's her life. And she can take gold from other objects and transfer them to other objects. I think it's really interesting because the story is all about Cora. She's the princess. It's about her trying to really come into herself. I mean, she's cursed. Everyone says she's cursed, and I guess in a way she is cursed. I mean, she looks like she's made out of gold, She has a gold sheen to her, unfortunately. So that leaves her really reserved as a character. She wears gloves, she wears a veil over her face. She doesn't really want people to see her or to touch her. And that leaves her very reserved. It leaves her somewhat depressed because she doesn't really have any strength. She doesn't really inner strength. She doesn't have any inner strength. She just kind of wants to be left alone because she feels as cursed as she is. And I think one of the more interesting parts of it is the adventure. So her father's gold gets stolen, so she's the only one who can find it. She can sense the cursed gold because it's cursed like her. She can sense it. And King Midas has to be near it, or else he gets deathly, he could die. His life is tied to this gold. It has to be nearby at all times, unfortunately. That kind of makes him pretty weak as a character. You don't really get to see a lot of King Midas in the story, but I don't think the story is really about King Midas. It's the ramifications of his gold touch. That's what it's about. It's about Cora as a character. It's all about who she is. And so since she can link herself to the gold and find it, she, takes a would-be suitor. They embark on a journey on the rundown ship, and they, have to fight pirates, and they have to go to this pirate den. I love pirate stories too. So I think it's really interesting. There aren't a lot of pirates in the story, admittedly. Not till the very end of it, almost. It's an adventure story, yes, but it's more about following Cora on her journey. It's about her developing as a character. It's about her coming into herself, and I think Sullivan does a really good job with highlighting her character development, because then she has to fight off these mermaids that drown men, and they almost get her because they're just like, don't you just want to punish? But she feels so abandoned at times. She feels very alone. All her previous suitors pretty much screamed at the side of her, so she kind of she has a mistrust of men. Her father did turn her into gold. There's another man in court who's trying to steal the throne. There's a lot that happens, and the sirens kind of attach themselves to that. And then what they're doing is, they drown men. Their sea is littered with gold, right? It's how they trap men, not with their song, but with this promise of greed. And then they lure men to their deaths, obviously. So she has to save them, and I think it's a really great moment for her, because she breaks the siren spell, and she finally realizes, no, I am strong. And I think that was so great. That's the moment the story really starts to turn. That's the moment she becomes one with her curse. She kind of reconciles that this is how it is. This is her life, but that doesn't mean she has to let it control her. She will instead allow it to empower her. She's taking what everyone thinks is bad, and she's finding beauty in her flaws. She's finding beauty in her strength to really be a powerful princess, and one day a powerful queen. So there's a lot of character development. There's definitely a lot of adventure, lots of running away from pirate scum, lots of fighting pirate scum, near the end. And I think there's also a lot of twists and turns. Some of those twists and turns were slightly predictable. I mean, when one of them happened, I was like, oh, I knew it, But then another twist happened, I'm like, what? Did not see that coming. So there are some predictable moments in the story, but then there are a lot of unpredictable moments in the story. There's a lot of rising tension. There's a lot of inner conflict. I love her cousin. I love how her cousin doesn't think she's cursed. Her cousin sees her as her cousin, just covered in gold. I think that's a really great friendship right there, and you get to see her cousin as well develop as a character. She's royalty as well, but she falls in love with one of the ship hands, and she's just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I don't want to go back to the palace. I want to be on a ship. She's such a fun character. I love how her and Cora have this really fun dynamic, how they can trust one another, how their love for each other keeps them unified against all odds. I think it's really great. I think it's really compelling. There are some times where I thought, I think her cousin is evil. There are lots of those moments, but ultimately her cousin loves her, and I think that's really great to see this really nice dynamic between her and her cousin. And also her cousin's just hilarious at times. She stows away on the ship, and it's completely unpredictable. She stows away with nothing but the clothes on her back, and she's unsuited for this. You would think she would be snobby and pretentious, because she's usually waited on hand and foot, but she makes a life for her on the ship. she really comes into herself as well, and I really love that about her cousin. And I think they're the great balance. You've got the more serious Cora, and then you've got her fun-loving cousin. You know, they do balance each other out quite well. They do balance each other out quite perfectly, because they're able to create a rich dynamic that will compel the reader into reading their story, into seeing it unfold. So ultimately, you know, this is a great story. You know, it has some mermaids, it has pirates, it's a really rich and unique retelling on the story of King Midas. So I have to recommend it. So this is A Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. I give this story 4 stars. And, you know, purchase the book on bookshop.org. All the proceeds, well, not all the proceeds, a percentage of the proceeds from bookshop.org do go to supporting local booksellers. You know, and I think in today's world, we really need to support our booksellers. If money is too tight, you know, check the book out from your local library. Local libraries are a great resource. You can get audiobooks there, ebooks, and even physical copies. And I think it's really great to support our libraries, because they're a great resource for everyone. And I really think they need the funding and support from their communities. So, you know, give out a shout out to your libraries. And also support me by liking this podcast and subscribing to my channel. And please remember to share it with all your fellow book lovers. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.